Hello, it's Ryan here from the Deck Podcast Network. If you've enjoyed our show, please remember to like, subscribe, and share with your friends. Thanks very much. Enjoy the show.
Hello, and welcome back, everyone, to the National League Natter. You've got the dream team again today. I'm getting sick of your face, Aaron, personally.
That's not what she says off camera.
Oh, well, you know, on camera, I've got sick of you. But we're here for the third show in a row with the dream team, Lauren and Aaron. And it's match day 29. That we're going to be previewing today, which is just crazy to me. But we'll do our usual lovely show, have a little talk about the midweek games, have a good old chat, bit of predictions, bit of looking forward to next week, and all the usual shenanigans we get up to as well.
Amazing.
But Aaron, how are you doing?
Yeah, I'm good. I'm feeling good. Obviously, there was a big game midweek, the only game in the division. Unfortunately, and quite fairly and rightly, didn't fall Oldham's way. It was Oldham versus York, and York came and probably proved that they're just maybe a level ahead of us right now. And obviously, I'll touch upon that game before we get started onto everything else. But yeah, other than that, I'm good. I can't believe, like you say, it's 29 games in already. Like, we'll blink and we'll be in. It'll be playoff time in April and May. It's gonna be crazy, isn't it? But yeah, I'm good, Lauren. I'm good. I'm ready to do it. So straight off the bat then, shall I get my dreadedness out of the way, and shall I briefly touch on the one match day from Tuesday, which was York versus Oldham at Boundary Park?
Yeah, go on, rip the bandage off.
Now, this game was the talk of the league coming into the game in the terms of it was rearranged all the way back from Boxing Day. It was the only game in the division, and it was two title rivals squaring off at Boundary Park, and there was journalists covering it, like it was getting shown on DAZN, and there was a bumper crowd, just over 7,500 in a Boundary Park on Tuesday, I believe. So everyone's up for it, everyone's singing, and yeah, like first 10-15 minutes there's nothing really in the game. Probably York are having the lion's share of the ball, but I kind of expected that really from the way they kind of tactically set up compared to the way we've kind of tactically set up this year. They have a lot of the ball, and we try and pass through the lines quite quickly and counter quite quickly, even at home. But then I think it was like just before the half-hour mark, if I'm mistaken. I might just go and have a look and get the timings just so I'm bang on a second. But I think it was around the half-hour mark. York received a free kick, and that's where my frustration started, really, because Regan Ogle, who is our right back that we signed in the summer from Scunthorpe, he's barely put a foot wrong all season. But it was one of them, Lauren, where the man was getting away from him, and the man was getting away from him all the way from the halfway line. So I always think if you're going to take someone out and take a yellow card, do it on the halfway line. Don't let him come all the way to the edge of our D and then take him out. But anyway, that's what happened. He took him out at the edge of the D, got the yellow card, and Alex Hunt, who was an ex-loanee for Oldham, took the free kick. Beautiful strike, hit the post. And then the York man, Fagan Walcott, I think he's called, the fullback. He was first to respond and knocked it in on an empty net. The Oldham fans were calling for offside, but having looked back at the highlights, he was onside. So then obviously, you're fighting an uphill battle against a very good team then, and we didn't get any better, really. We carried on with our kind of slow, lethargic passing. They were a lot quicker, a lot sharper than us, and it seemed like they wanted it a bit more. And then in the blink of an eye, the lead was doubled from York, and it was that man Ollie Pearce again, the league's top goal scorer. He capitalised on yet another Regan Ogle mistake. He tried to clear his lines, ended up kicking the turf as he went to kick the football, and it kind of bobbled out to Pearce, who struck it, and Hudson saved it, but he managed to palm it against the defender, and the defender couldn't react quick enough, and it went into the back of the net. And at 2-0, I think everyone in the ground knew it was over, really, against a team like York. I mean, Mikey had a big chance 5 minutes into the second half. I think, I don't know whether Callum's put it up, but if not, we should definitely put it up on the Twitter, because I said to you before we came on air, I think that's probably one of the best saves I've ever seen live in this, certainly in my time in this division, from Harrison Mayle, the York keeper. His reaction time and reaction speed was ridiculous. Mikey rose like a salmon from a corner, and he headed it, and it was one of them where we've all started celebrating, and this just massive like pour of a hand just comes up, stops the ball from going in, he claws it back, and we can't get it over the line. And look, we deserve to lose the game, but in them sort of moments, if you get a goal in the first 5 minutes of the game with a home crowd up for it, it could have been a completely different game, but it wasn't meant to be. Obviously, Josh Stones made his return back to Boundary Park. He got the last 20 minutes of the game to a very, very hostile reaction from Oldham fans, shall we say. There was a few little references to his greed and his newfound wealth at York, shall we say, in some of the chants. And he didn't really do much, to be honest. But then the York have had some fun this week with some social media posts, especially Matt Ugler and the York City admin coming at Oldham, and Oldham fans have been losing the Reds. But as I said on Twitter early doors, you can't give it out like to a player that did his best for us on loan. He was never really our player in the first place. You can't give it out and boo a player like that and then not expect it back, when the result's not gone our way. But like I said, a lot of a mini rut for us now, but I'm not overly worried. Like, we've still had a very, very positive season. Obviously, these next 4 games are massive, though, because in the next 4 we play both Gateshead on Saturday and then Rochdale away next Tuesday night. So they're just two of the next 4, which are massive. But yeah, York more than deserve the win.
Yeah. Do you think that you would have had more of a chance if it was played back on Boxing Day or whenever it was meant to be?
I think that's an actual great question, because I think it would have been a completely different game, because obviously we would have still had Sam Clucas before he moved back up to League One with Lincoln, who was probably one of the best midfielders in the league at the time he was with us. And obviously we would have been the ones that still had Josh Stones on our books as well. So, so I think it could have been a completely different out. Look, but you can't look. I don't think you can look at it like that, because we had enough quality probably on the field to probably at least pose more questions than we managed to, and we didn't do it. So in the end of the day, you don't deserve to win a game if you don't create enough chances. So yeah, fair play to York for sure. But is that enough? Have I suffered enough pain now, Lauren?
I'll let you move on from that.
Well, shall we let you do your bit of a section now? And do you want to touch upon your game of the week from last week? A very, very good game of the week, I would say, from me in terms of the result and the magnitude of it. Do you want to touch upon it?
Why not? So we assigned Loz's game of the week to be the York City Sutton game, which some might say ended in a little bit of an upset ? I don't know if you'd necessarily call it a massive upset, but Sutton ended up winning that 2-1. In fact, they were 2-0 up at half time. But they were Sutton just had a really, really good showing, really. They were strong team. They played really well, I thought. So yeah, Davies headed in a corner. So Davies got the brace for Sutton. First goal 15 minutes, and the second one at 24. And then at that point, you're feeling pretty good about yourself. I think that the Sutton played really well, but York didn't have the best showing of themselves. And then, I mean, usually I do a bit of a ref review, but just from all accounts that I've heard, the ref was really poor.
Yeah.
A really poor refing.
Has to know a lot about the ref as well, to be honest.
Yeah, and like usually I'm not the type of person to slate a ref usually. You know, they do a job at the end of the day. And someone's got to do the job, and I respect the job that they do, but I heard that the ref was particularly poor in this game, really. I mean, this is probably the briefest Loz's game I've ever done. But I think just Sutton played York out like off the pitch. Really, they were pretty poor. York kind of came back after the half time and became a lot better of a side. Josh Stones hit a post at one point just after the half time. And then obviously they pulled one back in the 83rd minute. But just in total, Sutton were a lot stronger in the end and were the better team on the day, to be honest.
Yeah, I think it's funny because it's like we've gone back in time, because I've just opened up speaking about the York game in response to that game, and obviously we've gone back in time to cover that. But I do think they were labeling it as Tuesday night's game as two teams looking for a response, and York came and got that. But in terms of, I just wanted to get your opinion on sort of Sutton's form and whether you can see Sutton breaking into that top 7, because Sutton fans might be saying that they're unbeaten in 4, and while that's true, they have only won one of them 4 games, and 3 of them are draws. So where do you sort of value them for their place in the league right now, and can you see them breaking into that top 7 anytime soon?
I think that it looks like they're on an upturn of form, which is always good. I think that where they are, obviously they're sat in 10th. I might go out on a limb here and say that I don't think they will break into the playoffs. I think, Halifax and Rochdale both have games in hand and are above. And I think that, to be honest, I think that the teams that are currently in the playoffs, other than Solihull, who have lost their last 2, I think that they're all looking pretty decent for where they are at the moment. Obviously, they're only 3 points out, so it is very much doable. But just at the moment, I think that the teams above them are still very much fighting for their places and still very much up for it. I would probably say that I can't see them going in at the moment, but perhaps they're playing well enough to do so.
I'm going to put you on the spot here with a question, right? And I'll fire the same one back at me once you give me your answer. But traditionally in the National League, you always have a team that comes like late charge from mid-table to sneak a playoff place. Grimsby did it most notably a couple of seasons ago and went on to win the playoffs with that momentum.
Yeah.
If we had to pick somebody to fall out the current top 7 and somebody to take the place, who would you say is most likely to fall if you had to pick right now? And the thing is, I'll probably ask this question a couple of times now from now to the end, because the table seems to fluctuate that much, doesn't it?
And my answer will change probably every time as well.
Yeah.
From my opinion, and please don't come after me on the socials, or do debate me on the socials. You might not agree with me.
Remember though, we debate. We don't have to come for people personally. Remember that.
Yes, we can have a debate about my footballing opinions, but we can a nice 2-way conversation about it. But I would probably say if any of them are going to drop, this might be rogue. I might say Alty.
I thought you were going to say Oldham. Then I was gonna cry. I was gonna cry and quit the podcast.
Well, they are on the worst form out of the lot, to be honest. So just dig that one in. But no, I know that Alty are playing pretty well. Obviously, they've just won their last 2, drawn the one before. They've only lost 1 in the last 6. But out of the ones that are currently in the playoffs, if I had to say any of them to drop out, I would just say Alty, just from previous seasons, and I think that, yeah, I'm just going to say them. Who do I think?
I'm going to say on the other side of it, who takes a place?
Who takes a place? I mean, to be fair, if I was going to say anyone would then hop in there, it would just be Rochdale. But I don't know whether that's a bit of a cop-out because they're currently in 8th.
And they've got so many games in hand as well.
But I could, I think that if anyone was going to hop in, it could be Rochdale. And I'm going to stick with that, whether you think that it's cheating because they're currently in 8th or not.
I'm going to say something that's probably going to garner me a lot of heat. And no, I'm not stoking the fire for Saturday. It's just my personal opinion. I know they are 9 clear at the minute, but like I said, with Dale having the games in hand, I think Gateshead's downfall needs to be spoken about a little bit more, with them losing the players and being on a bit of awful form at the minute. And I think that might continue a little bit longer, and I could see them slipping out. And if they were to slip out, I'm much like you. I think, to be honest, I think looking at the state of the table right now, I think it's only going to be probably one of Rochdale or Halifax that are going to break through. And looking at the current forms, I would probably have to back Rochdale to do it. So I think we're both saying that Rochdale are going to get in, but we've just both got slightly different people dropping out.
Yeah, but
but like I said, in that case, then shall I get to the rundown of the fixtures for this weekend, and then we can do the signings and then everyone's favourite part of the podcast.
Let's do it.
So, as always, for those that have not listened before, I'll run down top to bottom, and then I'll pick out some that stick out for me and give my reasons for. I'll then throw it over to Lauren. She'll give some that are sticking out for her, and then we assign a tie of the week, like our tie for the neutrals, pretty much, the one that we think's going to throw up a little bit of fireworks, a little bit of tastiness. And then I give Lauren one to do a little bit of a match report on for next week's episode. So this weekend we have no early kickoff this week, no Friday night game as far as I can tell. We've got Aldershot versus Tamworth. Also, just speaking on Aldershot as well, obviously it's fantastic news to hear about Tommy Witherington back in the dugout and back in at Aldershot now after a health scare. So everyone connected to this podcast is delighted to hear that news. So yeah,
absolutely.
So yeah, we've got Aldershot versus Tamworth. We've got Alty versus Forest Green, Barnet versus Maidenhead, Boston versus York, Daggers versus Southend United, Ebbsfleet versus Braintree, Fylde versus Wealdstone, Gateshead versus Oldham, as I mentioned briefly before, Rochdale versus Yeovil, Solihull versus Halifax, Sutton versus Eastleigh, and that is it for the fixtures this weekend. No early kickoff, no Friday night kickoff, no 5:30 kickoff, all 3 o'clocks. Nice and traditional. So straight away for me, I'm looking at Alty Forest Green in terms of 2 teams occupying them sort of promotion spaces at the right end of the table, and I think that could be a good game for the neutrals. I'm looking at Fylde Wealdstone as like a bit of a relegation ding dong, a bit of a fight, a bit of a firefight. I'm looking also at what else is sticking out to me? I'll probably Oldham Gateshead in the sense of 2 teams on pretty poor form right now, but still both occupying the playoffs. So you'd imagine one of them would need that win to kind of kickstart themselves and bring that confidence back. So I think that's quite a big game. Anything else before I hand over to you? And then, you know what, I'll go another one. I'll go for similar sort of reasons. Solihull versus Halifax in the sense of, Halifax have the chance and the games in hand to break into them playoff spaces, but they've got a tough task to do so, or start the run to do so away to Solihull. So maybe that's one to keep an eye on. What about you, Oz? Is there anything that's sticking out to you?
Yeah, I mean, you've kind of stolen my picks, which, I think at this point we think too similarly. The one that stuck out to me the most was the Wealdstone Fylde one. I don't know. I always love bottom of the table little fight, and obviously they're both currently in that drop zone, the little relegation zone. But obviously both, there's only 3 points between them, and you've got Maidenhead and Braintree just kind of floating around as well. So the two, I think it's quite a big game in the sense of, like if either of them want to get out of that bottom four, like they're really going to want to be beating the teams around them. Obviously, I've just had a I don't know why I haven't seen this, but I've just had a look at the goal differences, and there's some truly incredible goal differences in this league at the moment.
I mean, so just for reference, you've got Maidenhead above the relegation zone on -19, which is quite a feat in itself.
To be fair, Tamworth in 15th. I've got -12, which is
-12, yeah.
In 15th, which is impressive.
But then the bottom four have Wealdstone on -7, which isn't too bad, all things concerned.
No.
Fylde on -24, which is a bit more worrying, a bit more drastic. But then it gets a little bit worse because you have Boston on -22. But then, unfortunately, I feel like we have to mention something every week about this team.
Sorry, guys. Sorry, Ebbsfleet.
Ebbsfleet on 12 points. What's that now? Is that 14 points adrift? Yeah, it is. And the teams above them, most of the teams above them, unfortunately have games in hand as well, which is never going to help. But they are currently sat on a whopping -43 goal difference. They've scored 21 goals this season, Lauren, and conceded 64 goals.
Yeah, we're not dogging on you, we promise, but it is a little bit poor.
It's astonishing, really.
Yeah, but anyway, yeah. So I think Wealdstone and Fylde, that game for me was the first one that jumped out at me, and I feel like we do talk about Oldham a bit much on this one, but I do think that the Gateshead Oldham, obviously, like you say, both on relatively poor form at the moment, but wanting to stay in and around the playoffs, especially given Rochdale, Halifax, and even, to be fair, all the way down to 12th, they're only 3 points behind the playoffs. So, obviously, it is still very tight, and I think that's quite a big game, personally.
Yeah, I agree. So, you know what? I'm feeling quite nice today. I've had a good week. So, it's very rare I do this, Loz, but would you like to pick your own Loz's game of the week this week?
Yeah. I mean, can I take the Fylde Wealdstone game? I fancy it.
Yes, you can.
I fancy a bottom of the table clash. Why not?
For sure, of course you can. And then, what do you think the tie for the neutrals is for our joint game of the week? If you didn't know anything, or if you knew less about the league than you do, what would you say from what you know or what you can see would stand out to you straight away?
Maybe Forest Green.
Yeah, you know what? I'm more than happy with that, to be honest.
Yeah.
Yeah, because like you say, I think Alti are on obviously really strong form. Three wins in the last 6 and only 1 loss. Forest Green are probably on better form in terms of no loss in the last 6, but four draws in the last 6 to find yourself at the top of the table is quite unusual, isn't it, Lauren, if we're being honest?
It is, definitely, especially because, I mean, actually, Barnet's the same. All of the top, they're not in great form. I mean, York's a little bit better. But yeah, you've got 4 draws and 2 wins for Barnet as well. But yeah, finding yourself top still after 4 draws and 2 wins, I think is quite a feat given it's so close. But we could see in that game a change of leadership in the league.
Yeah, exactly. I think the thing is, I think them sort of top three they'll all probably share a top spot at some point before the end of the season. I could see. I don't think I've got one in my mind that I think is definite to win the league yet, which is always nice going into February, you know, because for the last couple of years we always had a quite a high idea of who's going to win this division come February, March time. But this year it's quite even and quite mysterious, isn't it?
Yeah. And I think it will be right towards the end. I can't see anyone, at least at the moment, pulling away with great form or whatever. So, yeah.
I think it is worth just saying before we get on to predictions and whatever else, just I don't know what areas of the country it's going to affect, whether it's going to be like an all-affecting one like the last one. But I don't know if you're aware, Lauren, but we have supposed to got having yet another storm approaching the country this weekend. So you know what that usually means with the National League fixtures. It usually means probably half of them get rained off or waterlogged or frozen or something, you know. Yeah. So it's worth putting that in as a side note before we go and do these predictions now, I guess.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, we've seen quite a few postponements recently, haven't we? I mean, even last weekend there was the Halifax Daggers game got postponed. So I wouldn't be surprised if we see a couple postponed throughout the weekend. But it depends how bad the storm's meant to be fair. I've not really heard much. I just know that there is going to be a storm in the north.
Is it like, I think it's something, is it like Storm Daniel or Dennis or something? I'm sure this one begins with a D, I think.
Didn't even know it had a name. Didn't even know.
They all have names, don't they?
And what would you name a storm?
If I could name a storm.
Yeah.
Ooh. This is a little this is how our brains work, you know. If I could name a storm. Oh, that's a good question. I'd want something like quite fierce. Like I mean, it would be quite cheesy, but I'd go for something like Bolt or something, just something a little bit like mythological, you know, like something a little bit powerful, I guess. But from the Met Office in the last couple of years, they seem to be going for human names, and they always seem to rotate between male and female names. So if this one is a male one, like we predict it will be, the next one will be female. So go on then. Before we get into predictions, I'll let you name your storm. Sorry if you're listening to this, Ryan. I don't really know what's going on here, but here we are. Here we are.
Look, it's the charm of the podcast, you know. We have tangents here and there. Well, why don't we call it like Storm National League now? Because we're just that powerful.
Just you could have just shortened that, and it could have just been Storm Natter. That might have sounded a little bit better. I think.
Well, yeah, but then you know.
I think on BBC News Weather, like, I look at it on Saturday night, and they're like, "We've got the Storm National League Natter." It's a bit of a mouthful, you know. So
it's like a triple barrel name.
Maybe just shorten it to Storm Natter. But yeah, I like that. I like that a lot. Yeah. So with that being said, shall we get into predictions? And before we start, do you want to give us a bit of a rundown of where we are currently lying?
Yes. So we obviously, you saw us this week already for our review show, but we did in fact have a preview show before that, and we did our predictions. So for those who haven't listened to us before, welcome to the show. We do a prediction league where we predict what happens each week, basically. Kind of does what it says on the tin. And for the longest time, Aaron was absolutely thrashing me in the predictions. Like the longest time. And then I managed to pull it back. And not only did I pull it back, I got myself a bit of a lead. I was like 13 points or something like that. But last week, you closed, well, the week before last, Aaron closed up the gap. and got it down to just 10 points between us. So before last week's predictions, we were on 178 for me and 168 for Aaron. And then we had what was possibly the most shocking predictions we've had in so long. We were so poor. So we've got I ended up only getting points in 3 of the games, which we had a full I think, did we have a full game week? I think we did.
Yeah,
so
we
out
did.
of all of the games, I only got points on 3. Whereas you managed to pick up points on 5 of the games. So if you can tell, Aaron won this week. Although I did manage to get 3 points in the Tamworth-Boston game, which ended 3-0 to Tamworth. So it wasn't too bad. So in the end, I only got 6 points. But Aaron got 9, which means the gap closes further, and I can't gloat this week, unfortunately, which I do tend to love doing.
I mean, I'll be completely honest. I'll take the fact that I've done back-to-back wins after going on a bit of a slide, but I do kind of feel a little bit embarrassed celebrating that specific week, because I think overall probably neither of us deserve to win that game week.
Yeah, it's horrendous. For a full game week, getting 6 points. I think I would have done better if I'd just rolled a dice to tell me whether to go who wins.
Yeah,
it was
I think
poor.
it's just worth saying then, because I can't just act like it didn't happen. You might have just heard my dog very angrily bark from the top of the stairs because a cat from across the road has just come and kind of sat on our front porch. So yeah, Fudge isn't very happy.
Outrageous.
But
Outrageous.
Back to predictions. So Lauren, you know what? Considering you have the lead, but I feel like I've got the momentum again. Right, I've wrestled that momentum a little bit. I'm gonna let you go first.
Thank you. As everyone knows, I love to justify mine, because I always get some interesting, people don't always like my predictions, which, to be fair, as of last week, I do understand the whole 6 points. But given the gap's now close to 7, I feel like I need to do a better job here.
I feel like before you get in it, actually, I feel like we should tell them, any new listeners that are listening for the first time, what is the forfeit on the table, right? Why are we both so nervous this year compared to last year?
Yeah, so last year the forfeit was to wear a shirt of the other person's team, which we still haven't done. So next time I'm back home, we'll do it. However, this year we've kind of gone from 0 to 100 in terms of a forfeit, because whoever loses has to get a tattoo designed by whoever wins. Now, I was quite confident because I'm currently the reigning champion of the prediction league, but I'm terrified of what Aaron is going to put on me. I'm actually terrified. It's already designed and has been hyped up, and everyone's like, "Oh my goodness, what are you doing to this poor girl?" So I'm scared as to what it is. But
nice. Listen, I'll never give away my tricks, but yeah, to be fair, right, it is quite a massive forfeit, because I know both of us will follow through with it, but also neither of us have got any ink work on our bodies completely at all up until this point. So the fact that this will be our first tattoos is quite fitting, really. It's quite fitting that it's something to do with this podcast, I guess. But it is extremely scary.
It's the love for the league and the love for the podcast, It's does crazy things to us.
It. So, with that in the back of your mind, Lauren, try and extend that gap and take us away with your predictions.
Okay. Now, I'm already conflicted with my first one because it's Aldershot, who I have a weird affinity for, even though there's not really any reason. But it's also Tamworth. And I also really like Tamworth. And again, I say this like I don't like I have nothing against any team in this league. Before someone comes and
Apart from
says
Oldham.
why she got favourites, I've not got any hate to any team.
She hates
But-
Oldham.
Yeah, but only because of Aaron. I've got no actual issues with it. Okay. Now I didn't back the shots last week, and I think that ended up hurting me. Yeah, that did end up hurting me. But I'm gonna back Tamworth here. And maybe that's silly, but I'm gonna do it. And I'm gonna say it's gonna be 2-1 to Tamworth. It's a nice little away win for them there.
Nice.
With Alty Forest Green, I'm gonna say, why not? I'm gonna do some wacky predictions again this week. I know that might be a bit silly, but I'm going to. And I think that Forest Green is gonna have yet another draw. I know, sitting on the fence this early is crazy. But I think
5 draws in 7 games for somebody going for the title.
But I think it's gonna happen. I'm gonna say it's gonna be a 2-2 draw there.
Wow. At least you've gone high scoring.
Watch it be like the deadest 1-0. Like Barnet, Maidenhead. Now Maidenhead did win their last one, but they're also they're not doing very well this season, really, are they? You know, they're literally kissing the relegation zone because they're just 1 point clear at the moment.
I've heard of flirting with the relegation. They're never kissing the relegation.
No, they're kissing it because they're next to each other, aren't they? You know, it's like it's not like you know they're going in and out. It's like they're literally.
Oh
God, Aaron, this is a family friendly podcast.
It came out of your mouth, not mine.
Oh my God.
She's lost all control of people.
Anyway, I'm gonna say that's absolutely thrown me for a loop. That has. Right. I'm gonna say that Barnet are gonna win 3-1. I'm wanting lots of goals this game week.
Nice.
Boston, York. Again, this might seem like the obvious one, but just the fact that Boston have literally lost 4 in their last 6 and only drew the other 2. I'm going to say York are going to win this. And they're going to win it 2-0. 2-0. Daggers, Southend. I'm going to back my boys. I'm going to say that Dagenham's going to win this game. 2-1. 2-1 home win for the Daggers. Ebbsfleet,
Nice.
Braintree. Oh, it feels so bad to say that Ebbsfleet are going to lose again, but I literally can't see anything else. I mean, there could be a draw, but I'm not going to predict a draw. I'm going to predict a loss. Just a 1-0, I think. 1-0 for Braintree. Then Fylde, Wealdstone. I'm going to go 1-1. Sit on the fence again. Why not? Gateshead, Oldham. I'm going to go Gateshead win. Why not? I backed your boys last time and they did me dirty. They didn't follow through. So I'm going to say 2-0 to Gateshead. Why not? Hartlepool, Woking. You know what? I'm actually sitting on the fence so much this game week, but I'm going to do another draw. It's going to be a 0-0, that one. Rochdale versus Yeovil. I'm going to say I think Rochdale are going to continue to try and push for those playoff places, and I'm going to say that Rochdale are going to win just 2-1 here. Solihull versus Halifax. Let's go for a Halifax win. Why not?
I was muted ever so quickly just then for a second, but I can't pretend I am not entirely hurt by you saying 2-0 to Gateshead.
Well,
But I'm not surprised, to be fair, because you hate Oldham and we are also on pretty bad run of form. So.
well, I backed you guys last time and you got beat by the shots. And then you got beaten. Oh, I mean, you might try and come back and, turn it around, sort of a statement win. But I'm not predicting that. So,
Fair enough.
Tough. And then Sutton, Eastleigh, I'm going to go... I think Sutton are going to push on again, given they won their last one. I think they're going to go in with confidence. And I think they're going to win just 1-0 there against Eastleigh. So, I've got a lot of draws this week.
Amazing. So, what we'll do is what we always do. I'll go top to bottom now and we'll give a full rundown at the end, side to side, yeah?
Let's do it.
Let's do it. So, I feel like we're going to have quite a lot of similar picks this week, which is probably the problem. So, I'm also going to... Well, actually, I can't remember. Did you back the shots? No, I think you backed Tamworth, didn't you?
I backed Tamworth.
Yeah, I'm going to back Tamworth too. I'm going to say 2-1 Tamworth.
Oh, copying me from the get-go.
I am rather surprisingly my first shock of the weekend. I think Alti could throw a spanner in the works here and capitalise on. I wouldn't say Forest Green's lacklustre performances over the last couple of weeks because it's still top, of course, but they're probably not being as ruthless as they should be at this point. And Alti are on red hot form for all that that it's worth. So I wonder here whether Alti could get a cheeky 2-1 home victory. So that's what I'm going to go for.
I like it.
Barnet, Maidenhead. Now, of course, Maidenhead last weekend absolutely battered 4-1. But I don't... sorry, they did the battering 4-1, I should say. But I don't think it'll be repeated this week. And somehow I'm going to go 3-1 Barnet.
Copying me again, I like
it. Maybe some might say it's tactical. So if I lose, I can't get too far away from you. Who knows? So next up, I have Boston York. Now I'm really, really sorry, but I think it could be. In fact, 4-1 to York City. I think
4-1. Wow, lots of goals in your predictions too. Then
Daggers, Southend. I always think that at some point Southend have to turn it around, and then they just haven't been doing it this year, have they? They just haven't been turning it around. So, but I'm going to go 1-1 draw here. I'm going to go 2-1 Braintree against Ebbsfleet away from home.
Mm-hmm.
I am also going to... I'm going to back the Stones here, I think. And I'm going to say a cheeky 1-0 away win.
Nice. Love a cheeky little away win.
I'm going to... Obviously, of course, I've got to back my boys, even though we're on bad form. I'm going to say 2-1 Oldham away win.
2-1. Nice.
I'm going to say Hartlepool 2, Woking 1.
Oof.
I'm going to say Rochdale and Yeovil to draw 1-1.
Okay.
And I'm going to say Halifax to beat Solihull Moors 1-0 away from home.
Nice.
And then my final prediction is a 2-2 draw between Sutton and Eastleigh.
I like it. I like it. We do think too similarly. Some of
It is
these are
quite
very.
scary.
It is. It was really scary that week that we didn't do a podcast, but we did predictions and we did them
And we
separately.
didn't even let each other know our set of predictions before we put them in either.
Yeah, so we just sent them straight to Callum do our lovely graphic.
Yeah,
so we sent them to Callum so that we could get a lovely graphic on Twitter, which formerly known as Twitter, it's now X. If you want to see our graphics and see all the other fabulous content that's on there, it's NL Natter on X. Find us there. Interact
You
with
missed
us.
the perfect segue, so I'm going to jump in over the top of it and say that this week we have reached the 2,000 followers milestone on our X account, and obviously from the podcast persuasion, you see a lot of us and you see a lot of me and Chris, but you probably don't see the work. Well, you do see the work, but probably Callum doesn't get the credits and plaudits and appreciation he should do for running that account. So for as much as it is a big win for us, and we are forever thankful that hopefully a lot of them like followers translate into listeners in this podcast, I also want to say a massive well done and a massive congratulations to Callum for helping us build that platform. And here's to 3K, because we're not going to slow down anytime soon, are we, Lauren?
Not at all, not at all. Ready to kick on. But shall we hear our predictions from this week? See how similar we are. Okay, in our first tie, which is Aldershot versus Tamworth, we've both gone for a 2-1 away win for Tamworth. In the Alty versus Forest Green game, I've gone for a 2-2 draw. You've gone for a 2-1 win to Alty, a little bit of a kind of upset. In the Barnet Maidenhead game, we've both gone for a 3-1 win to Barnet. So very in sync on that one. Boston versus York, we've both gone for an away win for York, but I've gone 2-0 and you've gone 4-1. A little bit of a thumping there. Daggers versus Southend, I've gone for a Daggers win, 2-1 at home. And Aaron has gone for a 1-1 draw in that game. The Ebbsfleet versus Braintree, we can't see anything except from a Braintree away win here. I've gone for 1-0, you've gone for 2-1. In the Fylde versus Wealdstone game, I've gone for a 1-1 draw and Aaron's gone for a 1-0 win to Wealdstone. Gateshead versus Oldham, we go completely different ways here. I've gone 2-0 to Gateshead, whilst Aaron's gone 2-1 to Oldham. Hartlepool versus Woking, I've gone for a 0-0 draw, whilst Aaron's gone for a 2-1 win to Hartlepool. In the Rochdale Yeovil game, I've gone 2-1 to Rochdale, and Aaron's gone for a 1-0 draw. In the Solihull versus Halifax, we've both gone for a Halifax away win here. I've gone 2-0, you've gone 1-0. And then in the final tie, which is Sutton versus Eastleigh, I've gone for 1-0 to Sutton, and you've gone for a 2-2 draw.
Amazing. And look, it's crazy to think next time we do a preview show, it'll be matchday 30, which is mental then, because you are then in the final third or the final innings of however you want to phrase it, of a league season. And it doesn't seem 2 minutes ago since we got this podcast up off the ground in August and September, and now we're in the back end of it, isn't it? It's crazy, isn't it?
This season has gone so fast, in my opinion, so fast. But it's been a good one so far, and it's still so exciting, which is nice. It is nice not having a runaway leader of the season, runaway champion. It's nice. I'm liking it. I'm enjoying it.
Agree.
As someone who has no ties in this at all, I'm enjoying it as a partisan.
Yeah, well, as somebody with plenty of ties still in the playoff place, I can tell you, Lauren, I'm probably not enjoying it as much as I was even 2-3 weeks ago. 2-3 weeks ago, we only had 3 defeats on the board all season. Now we've got 5. It's crazy how things can change. But yeah, look, plenty of football to be played, plenty of drama, plenty of excitement. And yeah, so unless there's anything from you, Oz?
Not particularly. No, I think no.
Amazing. So in that case, we have been the National League Natter. Thank you for listening to us pretty much 3 times this week. You deserve some sort of listening award for that anyway, full stop, really. And Lauren, I think I would like to thank Lauren for pulling triple duty with myself this week. It's
for having me.
appreciated. And we have been National League Natter, and we will see you. Hopefully, well, I will see you. Whether Lauren will be here is yet to be seen, depending on what Chris can do and what Adam can do. But I'll be back on Monday for the Matchday 29 review. We have been National League Natter, and we'll see you again soon.
Bye, guys.